Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for tuning back in. Today is Wednesday. It's hard to keep track now because of the holiday. I didn't work on Monday. I hit 2,500 subscribers yesterday. Very exciting. I'm going to do that 56-day streak live video next Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I don't know what I'm going to do on the live stream. Let me know in comments if you have any ideas of what I should do, what you'd like to see or talk about, maybe just a question and answer type of thing. Today, though, I'm going to talk about 1954 food issue baseball cards because there's very interesting stuff in 1954. There's a lot of really interesting vintage food issue cards. When you think about baseball cards, you think about tobacco cards or you think about gum cards for the most part. But there's a lot of food issues, thousands maybe, of different food issue cards. But 1954 features a couple of very popular, very valuable, pretty rare Mickey Mantle cards because Mantle was exclusive to Bowman in 1954 and didn't have a Topps card. And so there's kind of this missing year of Mantle. Even though he has the Bowman, he didn't have a Topps card. And I think somebody has created a card for him, what it would look like if he had a Topps card that year. But he did have a Dan-Dee baseball card, potato chips. The Dan-Dee was a potato chip company. And I saw these on Facebook. There's this guy in one of the Facebook groups that I follow who always has insane cards. He's selling them for tens of thousands and sometimes even six figures. Cards that he buys and either he gets graded himself or they've already graded and he is trying to sell them. And this was one of them. He was trying to sell a SGC9 for $50,000. And it seems like a decent enough deal. It's a ton of money, but based on other comparable sales, it made sense. So these cards are extremely condition sensitive because they were actually just inserted without protection into bags of greasy chips in 1954. So we'll talk about another food issue that is not so condition sensitive in a minute, but the Dan-Dee cards, there are 29. There are 29 of the cards. One of them is the Mantle, and where he was missing a Topps card that year, it is a highly sought after, semi-rare card. So these cards depict players from the Indians, Pirates, Yankees, Dodgers, Cardinals, and Giants. They had regional distribution in Ohio and Pennsylvania. They had cards of Walker Cooper, Paul Smith, and Frank Thomas that were short printed. These cards were just saturated with grease. And there are rumors that PSA is more lenient on the grading of these cards because it's known that they were covered in grease, but it's tough to find a really strong eye appeal card. They were also plagued by factory perforation issues, and I believe PSA has actually said that they don't factor that into the grade, but it does factor into the eye appeal of the card when it's cut poorly at the factory. Other cards in this set would be Duke Snider, Bob Feller, Gil Hodges. PSA has graded a total of 3,300 of them, which is not that many, really. 400 of those have been Mantles, not a single 10. Only 6 of them are 9. So that SGC9 in my group is comparable to the highest PSA, although some people think they're slightly off. We won't get into that. There have been no public auctions of a PSA 9 since 2018 when they sold for about $25,000, which is why I think that SGC9 at $50,000 makes pretty decent sense. It's not outrageous today. Another thing I was thinking about with this, if you're buying a $50,000 card, do you try to negotiate at that point? Do you say, I'll give you $45,000? I don't know. I don't think I'll ever be in a position to be purchasing $50,000 cards, but it did make me wonder, do you try to, when you're that, well, I'm sure you do, right? These people aren't necessarily wealthy. Maybe they just have, I don't know. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Let me know in comments. There are 9 cards. I'm an autograph guy. There are 9 cards in this set that have been autographed and authenticated by PSA DNA, but Sadly, 0 of them are Mantles. I mentioned earlier that Bowman had an exclusive on Mantle. I forgot to mention why Dan-Dee and this other company were able to produce them, because the exclusive for Bowman and Topps were on gum cards, cards inserted in gum packs or candy packs. I'm pretty sure gum and candy were the same, considered the same. These were, of course, not inserted with gum or candy. They were inserted with potato chips. The other company is Red Heart, issued by Moral Company. Red Heart was a dog food company in the 1950s, and they would include, so they advertised for Red Heart on Sunday newspaper comics section, which of course you're probably going to have kids reading that and saying, oh, I want these baseball cards. We should buy our dog Red Heart. And so you buy 2 cans of Red Heart and send back the label in an envelope with a dime, and they will send you 11 cards. There are 3 sets of 11. So there were 33 cards in this set, and 3 different sets of 11. Each of these 11 had different backgrounds. One set of 11 had red, another set had green, one set had blue. So 2 cans get you 11 cards. And there are rumors that this deal was still available up into the 1970s. So you could get full sets of these right up until the early 1970s. So almost 2 decades. Pretty cool. It's not particularly rare. The backgrounds, there was some regional scarcity based on the background. The red is the most scarce set of these, which also has the Stan Musial card. And Musial, interestingly, didn't have a Topps card or a Bowman card that year, so similar to Mantle, but he just didn't like the deals that Topps and Bowman were offering. And imagine if baseball cards were still like this, where they had to go out to each player individually to get deals. But they couldn't sign him. So Red Heart paid him to be their spokesman and have a card in their set, and he's featured prominently in their advertisements. So they would advertise with Stan Musial, and kids, of course, would say, I want these cards, because baseball cards were becoming really popular with kids in the mid-50s. And this is considered one of the hardest Musials to get. It was a short print, but that Musial, a decent raw Musial recently sold for $442. So they're not terribly expensive. PSA has 10,000 Red Heart cards in their population. Only 3 of them are 10s. Two of those 10s are Mickey Mantle, so that's pretty good. And that's 1,300 Mantles graded with PSA, so only 2 of them have come back at 10. I found 0 public auctions for PSA 10s for the Mantle recently, or actually any, but the 9s sold earlier this year. One of the 9s sold earlier this year for about $25,000. There are 14 Mickey Mantles that have been autographed and authenticated by PSA DNA. That's a dream card right there. Another thing I forgot to mention is that the guy who was selling these cards, at some point, I thought I saw him speculating in a comment on that Facebook group that somebody had walked out of the factory with the card and it never ended up in a bag of chips. Because how do you get a 9 on a card that was crushed up against a bag of, up against actual chips that have covered with grease? He speculated that a worker at the factory walked out with them, or they were gifted to employees or something like that, which makes a lot of sense. That comment seems to be gone now. I don't know if I imagined it, but that's also makes the most sense in my opinion. So have you heard of these? Do you have any? I'm curious. Also, let me know what we'd like to see out of a live stream to celebrate 56 straight days of putting out sports card content. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.